What exactly is it that you get when you mix the worlds of DeviantArt, teen angst, Newgrounds, unmoderated forums, and overall insanity? The answer would be, well, webcomics. I mean, what else were you expecting? Anyways, I'm going to talk about some of these. Powerpuff Girls Dojinshi and Grim Tales from Down Below. These are two webcomics from the creator Bleedman. I already have a video planned about him, so I'm not going to go super into detail about any of this stuff, but what I will say is that it is pretty insane. Powerpuff Girls Dojinshi is basically just an anime reimagining fan comic that predates the anime Powerpuff Girls that actually came out by around like 2 or 3 years. It's kind of funny. It's not that bad of a comic. It honestly started the whole idea of shipping Dexter and Blossom together, which is still a thing on the internet. Overall, it's not super insane. Yeah, it has some weird fan service-y elements that are really just weird considering the ages of these characters, but it's not that bad. Grim Tales from Down Below is where shit gets actually freaking insane. It's a sequel to Bleedman's original Grim Adventures comics, which were his reimaginings of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I'm only mentioning that because that series confirms that Mandy did 9/11 to help Grim out and boost his spirits after he was depressed. I am not fucking with you. That is actually true. And that is surprisingly relevant because Grim Tales from Down Below follows the children of the Grim Reaper and Mandy in the future. Yes, these two characters get together, despite one being 1,000 years old and the other one being like, what, 8 when they met? And boy, does this shit get really bad really quickly. This series involves abortion, as Grim and Mandy's son is literally just a random aborted child from hell. Apparently all aborted fetuses are Grim's children in this reality. Yeah, it gets really bad. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this comic that I don't even want to get into, and to be fair, I don't think I have to, considering that I have a whole video planned about this. Seriously, I'm coming for your ass.
And the reason I call it the Nintendo Shit Cube, because it's a piece of fucking shit!
Tails gets trolled. Debuting on 4chan's infamous meme board around 2011, it started as a simple comic about Tails getting trolled, but it quickly mutated into a violent, chaotic saga of memes, madness, and troll logic. Characters like Sonic and Shadow appear, but then characters like Shrek are there too. The entire series is basically just about beating up on this poor little two-tailed fox. And it is also strangely self-aware, if you can call it that. One of the panels makes it look like Shadow is knitting, and the comic acknowledges that a couple issues later. The same with Tails having 3 tails in one of the panels, which gets referenced. Is this self-awareness, or is the artist simply trying to cover his own ass? We don't know. And I don't know if it ultimately matters. Is the comic ironic, or is it supposed to be serious? Who the hell knows? It quickly becomes a meta-narrative on how 4chan's trolling culture works and operates. It's filled with insane grammatical errors, strangely well-composed fight sequences, and a plot that veers into the absurd way too much. It also adheres to some pretty weird rules, like every single chapter being 21 pages, with a few exceptions. Overall, despite the fact that this isn't the cringiest of the webcomics, and it's certainly not the one with the greatest legacy, it has certainly cemented itself in the internet's collective subconscious, constantly getting reference in other meme formats.
Gay. A bastard.
The infamous My Immortal is one of the strangest and honestly most indicative pieces of fan fiction that I've ever come across. I don't know if this is an ironic parody or legitimately just the raw, strange mind of a 15-year-old girl writing fanfiction in 2006. My Immortal follows Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway, a goth teenage girl at Hogwarts, part witch, part vampire, and part wizard. She's immortal. Did I mention that? Like, super immortal. The fanfiction also seems to have a shared name with the Evanescence song, My Immortal, which is definitely not a coincidence considering how much Amy Lee and Evanescence are mentioned within this story. Also considering the fact that she used a My Chemical Romance song name as the name for one of her other fanfictions. It's a Harry Potter fanfiction that just completely goes off the edge, completely forgetting what it is or what it's about. Harry Potter is renamed Vampire, and Dumbledore constantly curses. This isn't even getting into the fact that Satan is a reoccurring character Honestly, though, I've struggled to even talk about this. There's so much that happens in this fan fiction that this is like the 5th time I've recorded this segment. I also found this YouTube series from like 14 years ago that kind of pokes fun at My Immortal and just how insane it is. Cloud mows the lawn. Final Fantasy VII Remake is literally one of my favorite games. I was just playing through it a couple days ago. So when I found this fanfiction, I thought, oh, this is gonna be funny, right? So from what I was told, this was just a fanfiction about Cloud mowing the lawn. I thought it was gonna be one of those things like just paint drying, where it's just Cloud mowing the lawn boringly. But no. So apparently in this fanfiction, Cloud and Tifa are married, and yet they're the same age they were in the original 1997 game. My issue with this isn't that it rewrites Advent Children and Kingdom Hearts, it's that this story becomes weird really quickly. It quickly devolves into Tifa's erotic point of view, fantasizing about Cloud and his shirtless body. It's really strange. And her not using the bathroom because she just wants to look at Cloud even more, and then I'm not gonna get into it. Yeah. There's a lot of bad fan comics out there, but I also feel like we need to talk about some of the good ones, or at least the ones that are not bad. Dragon Ball AF is a really interesting one, because this comic book was basically born out of a desire to get more Dragon Ball content during the Dragon Ball drought post GT. People really just wanted to see more content about the Dragon Ball Z franchise, and that just simply wasn't coming out. So around 1996, there was this fake picture of what appeared to be a Super Saiyan 5 transformation that was floating around the internet. People didn't know whether it was real or not, and of course they didn't. It was 1996. Eventually, fans started making their own fan comics based around what would happen after GT. One of those artists being, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Super at all, Toyotaro, who was going by the name Toyble at the time. Yes, this fan comic basically launched the career of the guy who would later take on the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole. That's simply how good this guy's art was. Honestly, I'd be surprised if he even needed to show a portfolio. I mean, damn, his art is actually pretty freaking good. Like, there are multiple versions of this comic and they're written by different people, but overall, the storyline is pretty cool, I guess.
Together we make the Troll Slayers.
Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, just remember to like, subscribe, Also, if anybody has recommendations as to what other weird sort of stuff I should be looking into, I will probably do it, even if I shouldn't.